This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Shaun, and today we're here to cover Week 3 of the iRacing NASCAR Fixed Truck Series. Now, I mentioned in the previous show that I was going to be on vacation at the beginning of this week, and that was going to cut things short. It meant I was going to have to get down to doing some practice, do a quick qualifying, and then finally get some races in. Now, this week we're going to be heading off to Homestead in Miami, Florida, the southeasternmost portion of the United States. Homestead is a 1.5 mile oval with the typical 4 corners that is made up of 2 ends. The banking in the turns at Miami is variable and ranges from 18 to 20 degrees and then flattens out to about 3 degrees down the straightaways. Homestead is known for having multiple racing lines and offering plenty of room for side-by-side racing at a very fast pace that results in lap times of about 33 seconds in the fixed setup trucks. When I got out on track for the first time, I immediately noticed that the trucks would be pretty loose here, especially on corner exit. I tried out the low line and could tell it was much slipperier and would have to be treaded lightly, but that it was also manageable if needed. I also tried the way outside line all the way up against the wall and actually found an amazing amount of grip, but also deemed it a bit dangerous to run all of the time. Again, it could be used if needed during the race. I found the truck really preferred a late entry into the corners and that you could gradually bring it lower as you went from mid-corner to about the 3/4 mark. If kept low and in control, you could really bring on the gas, but the slightest bit too much would loop you out of turns 2 and 4 before you even knew what happened. I could also tell that the truck was really loading up on the front right tire on corner entry, and that on long green flag runs, those who protect the tires will be strong at the end. After my first practices, I felt fairly comfortable, and it was time to run a qualifying run. On that run, I made a 33.5, which was not good enough, and I'm not even going to bother showing it to you. I did end up running a second qualifying run, and that's the one that I'm going to show you right now. There isn't much to set up coming off a 4 for a good run, but you do want to make sure that you don't get loose, ruining your lap. If all goes well, you'll be entering turn 1 at 178 miles per hour. I'm looking for the final set of lights to the right to get off the gas and begin my turn in. As I turn in for turn 1, I am targeting a high line and trying to keep the truck in the blackened part of the groove. As long as I have not gone in too fast and I know that I'm tracking well, I can start adding gas well before the midpoint of the corner. The truck is always dangerously loose from this moment on. Being smooth and mindful of what the rear end is doing is critical to getting a good run off of 2. Back up to full throttle and exiting the corner at about 165 miles per hour. Down the backstretch at full throttle and drifting out towards the wall, we get back up to about 178 miles per hour before the entry into turn 3. At about 5 car lengths before the billboards on the side of the track, or just as the track starts to turn, you can ease off the gas lightly and again shoot for a late entry into the corner. You will bleed off speed down to 145 miles an hour at mid-corner and will again be able to bring on the gas. The truck has a tendency to push for a moment at the 2/3 point through the corner, but once past this, it is very loose once again. With a good run out of 4, we will cross the line at 170 miles per hour, and in my case, running a 33.232, 0.2 off my personal best. Now, as I mentioned, I made 2 qualifying runs at Homestead, and the reason for that is this. After my first qualifying run, I ran in a race, and I actually gridded up in 14th place based on that qualifying time. I then learned how difficult it was to pass at Homestead, and decided that I needed to run a better qualifying run if I could. That improvement of 0.3 did a lot for me for the rest of the week. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how the races played out. For the first race, I started in 14th spot of 19 trucks and had the 4th ranked truck in the room. I knew that I wasn't fully prepared and that starting in the back would be tough, so I started things off easily. I wanted to see what the racing was like here at Homestead and move up if I could get the hang of it and protect my truck. With that mentality, the 19 truck goes under me at the beginning and I fall back to 16th by the end of turn 2. A few laps later, I start to gain confidence and I passed the 19 truck back for 15th spot. Then on lap 7, the 2 truck gets loose off of 2 and spins into the grass, and I move up to 14th. On lap 15, a couple of trucks get together and both have to get out of the gas to save it. I split them through the middle and pull into 12th place. A couple of laps later, the 10 truck gets loose coming off 2 and loses all of his momentum. I'm able to drive right by him and up into 11th. On lap 19, I get a good run on the 17 truck, and I am able to make my first actual pass going into turn 3, and at the exact same time, the 15 truck spins and brings out a caution, locking me into that 9th spot. I lost 2 positions on pit lane, and for the restart on lap 24, I get a good jump, but I am looking at a battle between 9th and 10th place ahead with nowhere to go. On lap 25, I try to pass the 9 truck on the outside, and by turn 3, we are still too wide with me on the high side. Up in front of us, another couple of trucks tap each other, and it jams everyone up in the area. I am able to go wide and pass them both on the outside and back into 10th place. The following lap, the 9 truck still isn't done with me, and we are battling once again. We proceed to fight lap after lap side by side, with neither of us willing to give way with only a few laps left to go. Then on lap 29, the 9 truck gets the advantage, and I try to follow him past the 18, who ends up getting loose, and I lose all of my momentum. And now the 14 truck has also gone by low right on the last lap. I try to fight him hard by overdriving the truck into 2 and end up going all the way up into the wall. 5 cars end up going by before I can gain control. Coming to the line, I am magically gifted 2 positions as another couple of trucks have a problem, and I end up finishing in 12th place. The room's strength of field was 1980, and with my 12th place finish, I lost 26 iRating to 2110. I had 0 incidents and gained 0.09 safety rating to 3.28. That poor finish didn't help out my overall championship points any, as I only gained 48. I have to tell you that despite not being prepared, this was actually one of the most fun races that I've ever been a part of. You had cars going 2 and 3 wide, racing side by side all race long. It was obvious to me that everybody had brought their A game, and you were going to have your top speed if you wanted to be a contender. That's also what led to me doing a re-qualifying once I realized how difficult it was going to be to make passes out on the track. The other thing, the fall off the right front tire is getting scorched when you push it too much here, and that was a big factor on the long runs. And again, those who protect the tire are going to do really well on the long runs, and I'd already seen that was a possibility here. So that takes us to race number 2, and for this race, I was in the second split of 3 and would be running in the number 1 ranked truck. I was starting in the 3rd position out of 20 trucks. I got an okay start, but I did fall back to 4th going into turn 1. While running the low line on cold tires, I got loose. I was able to gather it up, but this came at the cost of speed, and I dropped 2 spots back to 6th. On lap 5, the 5 truck gets a good run on the outside and passes me cleanly, putting me back to 7th place. Then on lap 8, I follow that 5 truck past the 6 truck and move back into 6th place again. A lap later, I try to follow him again past the 14, but it ends up leaving me in a 4-lap battle with that 14 truck. And by lap 13, I finally clear the 14 truck, but it comes at the cost of a lot of speed, and this allows the 6 to go on the inside of me going into turn 1. I run hard on the outside and get him back and earn the 5th spot in the race. A handful of laps later, on lap 21, the 6 truck is back and makes a run down low under me and takes back 5th again. On lap 26, the 13 truck has troubles and goes up into the wall, and that puts me back into 5th, and that is exactly where I would finish, in 5th place with very worn tires, running only 33 nines down the stretch. The room's strength of field was 1695, and I would gain 39 iRating to 2149 with my 5th place finish. I had 0 incidents and gained another 0.09 to a 3.37, and in the end, I came away with 84 championship points. For the 3rd race, I actually made the top split once again, and I'd be starting in 12th place with the 19th ranked truck out of 20 trucks total. This is one of those dream scenarios when it comes to points. Get a good finish, and I should score high points. At the drop of the green flag, I got a good start and was able to pass a truck going into turn 1. I was looking good on the outside until I got a little loose, lost some speed, and fell back to 12th. On lap 10, coming off of turn 2, I got loose again and dropped another spot back to 13th. At the exact same time, the 9 truck spins and I am right back to 12th place again. His spin did bring out the caution, sending everyone into the pits. And on the restart on lap 14, I was in the 11th spot. There was a stack up of trucks that accordioned the field. This sent trucks 3 wide and then 4 wide going into turn 1. This worked out okay for some, not so well for others, and I ended up coming out of it in 14th place, but safe. On lap 17, the 13 truck ended up into the wall, giving me 13th place. On lap 18, the 6 truck goes up into the wall, giving me 12th place. And then on lap 19, the 10 truck would get loose off of turn 2, and I would go by for 11th. On that very same lap, the 20 truck gets up into the wall, and I am now running in 10th place in just a matter of laps. On lap 23, the 4 truck gets loose off of 2, I move past him into 9th, but the 8 truck gets a run on me down low and takes that spot right back. There's another caution as all of this is going on, and we'd be looking at another restart on lap 29 with me in 10th position. I got an okay restart and went into turn 1 3 wide, running in 11th place. Coming off of 2 and down the backstretch, a teammate of mine, Sam Compton, is up in the wall and I have to hold up behind him. Then on the final lap, still running behind Sam, I see the other 2 trucks get together and swing up and hit Sam. This sends him down off the track, and me and the 20 truck fight it out all the way to the line, and I take him by a nose for a 10th place finish. My teammate wasn't so lucky, as that crash put him on his lid and he never finished the race. I found this out as I came around on the cool down lap, and there his truck was on its roof.
Oh, yes!
The room's strength of field was a whopping 3,059, and with my 10th place finish, I earned 101 championship points and went up in iRating 34 to 2183. I had 0 incidents and saw a gain of 0.09 to a 3.47 safety rating. In the 4th race, I started in the 9th position out of 15 drivers while running in the 10th rate truck. At the drop of the green, I got one of my best starts since the season began and moved up into 6th place. On lap 5, I am caught by the 5 truck and I leave enough room for him to go under me, and I do my best to stay with him, running in 7th place. On lap 11, I would get into a battle with the 14 truck who gets a run down low. We fight it out through turns 1 and 2 and then all the way down the backstretch. At this point, the 7 truck also gets a run down low, and coming off of 4, the 14 truck ahead gets loose and both me and the 7 truck go by with me in 8th place. On lap 13, me and the 12 would really start to go at it. By lap 14, we are still side by side. Lap 15, again still fighting with neither of us wanting to give up the spot. In the end, I am the one who made a mistake and I brushed up into the wall. This allowed the 14 and the 8 trucks to go by, dropping me back to 11th. Then on lap 21, I would inherit the 10th place back when the 14 gets loose off of 2. The race went green all the way to the line, and I finished all alone in 10th place. The room's strength of field was 2790, and my 10th place finish earned me only 61 championship points. I lost 4 on my iRating down to 2179. I had 0 incidents and gained another 0.09 to 3.56 safety rating. So that 4th race in the 3rd week would be my last race of the first half of the season. And even though in all these pieces we've gone through the points race by race, we haven't taken a time to really look at the points and see how they're playing out over the entire season and how they really break down. So let's go ahead and do that now, starting off with week 1. In week 1, I was able to run 5 races. In each race, I scored championship points: 88, 70, 64, 43, and 109. However, you will notice that I actually scored 98 championship points for that week. That is because after my 4th race, iRacing took my best 2 races and then averaged them together. 88 plus 109 equals 197, and divided by 2 equals 98.5, giving me 98 points for the week. The following 2 weeks, I only ran in 4 races, and it automatically picked my best race from the 4 and awarded me those points. 110 for week 2, and then 101 for week 3. And you can see you always want to run a minimum of 4 races because it's always going to pick your best of 4. Now when it comes to championship points, they are also heavily affected by the strength of field of the room that you're running in. The best example of this is to take my race win from Texas, race number 5. I won that race and scored 109 championship points. This room's strength of field was 1736, and that was the second of 4 total splits of drivers. The total amount of championship points being given was 919, and the win earned me 109 of them. On the flip side, if we look at the results from my 3rd race at Phoenix from week 2, I finished 5th place in a room that had a strength of field of 2588. That room had 1120 championship points being awarded, and 5th place got me 110, 1 more point than the race win. But that focuses only on championship points for that particular series. I also talk a lot about iRating and safety rating. So if we focus on iRating first, it is also heavily affected by your strength of field, but it's also affected by your finishing position. If we look at that same race win, I was given 81 iRating points. And you can see that it pretty much awards everyone in the upper half of the finishing order positive iRating, and with the bottom half losing iRating. Again, the numbers are affected also by your room ranking. Now if you look at that 5th place finish at Texas, which gave me the highest championship points, well, it only paid me 51 iRating points for a 5th place finish. And when talking about iRating over the course of the 3 weeks, you can see that I started out at 2075 and have been on a slow climb ever since. There have been a couple of races that I took hits, but it has for the most part gone up, and it is now at 2179, about 100 points higher than when I began. And the higher I can get this number, it's going to affect which splits I make in the future and potentially allow me to earn more points. Now let's talk about safety rating, which really has nothing to do with my ranking in the room or even where I finished for that matter. It only has to do with those ugly 2 X's that you get every time that you make contact with the wall or another car out on the track. In these sprint races, you can see it was actually pretty simple, and if you finished a race cleanly, you would gain about 0.10 in safety rating. Come out of a race with 2 incidents and you will break even. But at 4 incidents, you'll now be losing 0.09, or about the same you would gain on a perfect race. Knock that up to 6 incidents and you're going to lose 0.23 a race. And in my worst case scenario of all, I had an 8 incident race that ended in a DNF, so I didn't even finish, and that made it worse, and I lost 0.44. Basically the cost of 4 incident-free races. I've actually seen a pretty big drop in my safety rating over these races, and I have dropped from a 4.09 down to a 3.56. And that's something that I'm going to have to improve on moving forward. If you look at that 1 DNF, I took a 0.44 hit just for that 1 race alone, and that equaled over half of my total loss. So after 3 weeks, I have to tell you, I feel pretty good about where I am. There's certainly room for improvement. I sit in about 65th place overall, which puts me about 45 positions away from where I'd like to be. And after my last couple of episodes, I've had some input from others that are going to help me moving forward. Andrew Fayash watched my Phoenix video, and he came to me and he said, "Are you still 2-foot pedaling? Are you still left foot braking?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, most you roadies do." He said, "It's not that you can't do it that way, but I can tell that you're holding the brake while you still have the gas on, and that's going to cause you extra tire wear and even make your truck a little bit more unstable." He recommended that I make sure to get all the way off the gas before using the brake and vice versa, and that's going to help me moving forward. The other option is to break the habit of being a left foot braker, and I haven't decided which approach I'm going to take just yet. The other comment came from my teammate Sam Compton. He watched my video from Texas and he said, "Gee, Shaun, what's your force feedback?" I told him I was only running 6%, which is the same as what he is running, but he said that it looked like I was really over gripping the wheel and really fighting with it. And it wasn't a case of the force feedback, it was a case of that faux force feedback where I grip the wheel and create too much tension. It's something that I'm gonna have to work on. I tell people to relax their hands every lap at the start-finish line, and it's something that I'm gonna have to start doing myself. Now there's one thing I was working on from the very first race, and that was my restart. And if you look at it, I definitely made an improvement from the start to where we are right now, and that's something good. The other thing I noticed is how aggressive I was being. I've mentioned it a few times. I've been timid, and that's allowed people to get some runs down low. And if I want to win races, if I want to press higher and get better finishes, I'm going to have to be a little bit more aggressive and protect my driving line just a little bit more. Now next week, for the 4th race of the 6-week season, we're off to Daytona, and that's going to change everything. I've spent the last 3 weeks focusing on braking, turn-in points, and balanced throttle, and now all of that is out the window. It has been replaced with a high-speed game of chess, where strategy and timing is everything, and mistakes come at a very high price. So for now, that's going to do it. I hope that somehow I showed you what it's like to join a series in iRacing and go after a very specific goal. I hope that I've also broken down the points in a way that kind of show you the way it really works out, whether you're in a series or just doing individual races. And most importantly, I hope you see how much fun I'm having doing this series, running in these races. I am having a blast, I'm having some great racing out there, and I look forward to every race that I get to run. I still have 3 weeks to go, and then I'll see where I do over the entire season. So if you have any questions or would like to make any comments on this piece, please go to our website and do so, and I'll do my best to answer each one of them. This is the Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.